Showtime.
Before the big screen mainstream actors today.
Well, so Doug, here's a question. How can you tell the difference between a girl and that?
All right. Welcome to the Tech School Podcast powered by DSDT. I'm Josh.
I'm Mr. Harris today.
Mr. Harris, good afternoon, good sir.
Top of the day.
Yes, sir, indeed. We're sitting here talking about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, great show. It's a lot of technology they've incorporated into the show.
Yeah. A lot of CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know how well versed you are in Game of Thrones, but I've been watching it since the first season.
Oh, same here.
Yeah. And I don't know if I kind of like where this story is headed. You know, it seems like it's moving almost fast at times.
They are getting right into it,
Mhm.
which is something I appreciate because the original Game of Thrones season 1, you had to kind of go through the entire season before you got like, oh, this show is kind of.
I love.
You loved season 1?
I love Game of Thrones altogether. I love the storyline of it, and this one right here is really. At times, it's like they jump from. I was 12 years old. Now all of a sudden I'm 40 years old.
They did speed it up from the last week's episode to this past Sunday.
I don't care too much for that. But as far as the story itself, I just seem like it's moving too slow. The story is moving too slow.
Oh, so they need to speed it up.
They need to speed the story itself up, and I think that they need other points within the story along. Now, if you remember in Game of Thrones, you had, the winter is coming, and you always had somebody going to the party and getting killed, and there was a whole lot of different moving pieces to it, and they just don't have that as of right now. To me,
my prediction is, if you're hip to the show, I think they're brewing up a civil war within the House of Targaryen.
Maybe. And I mean, they should have some civil wars because these babies don't look nothing like the Targaryens.
They don't look anything like Brother Man. Anything.
They don't look like the daddy.
No. Or the person who is supposed to be the daddy.
You know what I'm saying? So they probably do need to speed past this part in order just to make the story make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that she got up and actually, and you see this too. This is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
So you had, and I forget the main character's name, but she got up and she offered their daughter to marry her. How would it be?
It would be the nephew or second nephew. Yeah, second cousins.
Have the cousins to marry.
Yes.
I thought that was kind of strange.
Well, that's the whole thing within the show, incest.
Yeah.
As you're fully aware of.
Yeah.
And House of Targaryen is no stranger to it. Niece and
now
uncle.
You bring up a great point. Was that even a thing back then?
Yes, it was a thing.
Wait a minute now. So you're telling me that you didn't have any kings that were marrying their sisters or, any queens that took on their nephews? You didn't have none of that going on?
What I'm saying is you probably did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of it going on.
Different times.
Yeah.
Good show. So we'll see how that pans out.
Absolutely. I mean, for the most part, I'm liking it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm loving it. I love Game of Thrones.
I love Game of Thrones as well. Just a quick little tidbit. I'm hearing that they're gonna create another spinoff following Jon Snow with the events after Game of Thrones.
Okay.
So that should be legit too, to see what happens when he went back to the Night's Watch.
Yeah, well, see, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
I loved Snow.
Mm-hmm.
His whole character, the whole story around it, the CGI, the effects and everything. I love that.
It seems like you have the original Game of Thrones, prequel, House of the Dragon, and then after the prequel, maybe we're going to go to the sequel.
Yeah.
A lot of projects do that.
So now you make me think they're trying to do it like the Power Universe.
That's where they're headed.
That's
we different spinoffs.
We had the main story, then all of a sudden we got these 25 different branches.
Mm-hmm.
We can keep this going for the next 25 years.
Hey, they have the budget, and more importantly, they have the technology.
Yeah, that's true. They definitely have more of a budget than we do around here. I'm just saying. It's okay.
All good.
Okay.
Okay, Carlos, Mr. Harris.
Today,
Mr. Harris. Last week we talked about TikTok.
Yes, we
And
did.
we talked about how you can improve your presence, your following on TikTok.
Right.
So let's pick up that conversation into today's episode. We promised the people last week we're going to get more into that with Amber.
Correct.
And I believe she's in the building, right?
I think Amber is here, so we want to bring in Mrs. Amber Boone, everybody.
Amber Boone, good afternoon.
Hey, how y'all doing? Can you hear me?
Amber, how are you today?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Crank
we
it
can
up
hear
just
you.
a tad bit more if you can.
I don't know that I can. I don't know what's going on. Sorry.
There we go. No,
Try to
perfect.
talk up. Speak up.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay, Amber. So last week, the three of us were chatting about TikTok and how we can improve our everything on TikTok. Us older folks, we're a little novice to it. It's more for the younger kids. Where do you even begin with TikTok?
So there's a few things. I have 3 tips that I feel like are applicable across the board for no matter who is trying to get started on TikTok. The first thing, you'll hear a lot about people talking about, find your niche it down. You have to have a niche. And this is where I initially struggled coming in, playing with TikTok. I was like, I don't have a niche. I do 100 different things. How am I supposed to niche it down? And then I realized my niche was my story. And so sometimes we have to think outside of the box. What is your story? Because TikTok it's an entertainment app, essentially. You're being entertained on there. You're being educated and or entertained. If you can combine the two and be educated and entertained at the same time, it's even better. So you have to think about what is your story that you're trying to convey, the value that you have to add to someone or what have you, and how are you telling that story? So that's the main thing. And if you notice on TikTok, you can tell your story a variety of ways. You can tell it through dance. You can tell it through captions. You can tell it without even saying a single word. You can sit there and look at the camera or look off to the side while words scroll across the screen. I mean, there's a number of ways that you can tell your story on there. But the premise is to, effectively tell a story.
Wait. What do you mean when you say effectively?
I kind of know where she's getting at. Let me throw an example out there. There's a Dearborn police officer who goes around and he creates different TikTok stories about dancing. Like he'll walk up to a stranger and he'll do like a dance with them, or he'll do some kind of impersonation. I can't remember exactly what he does, but he uses the fact that he is a police officer communicating with folks every single day in his own organic way. But
Okay.
he's always in uniform and he's using this platform on TikTok.
And where is he from again?
Dearborn.
Dearborn.
And he has a huge following. I can't think of his name at the moment. I can't even think exactly what he does.
He's doing that on taxpayers' time. I'm just asking questions now.
Well, he's
dancing.
connecting with the community.
He's there. He's dancing on TikTok, and I got somebody over here being robbed. I'm just asking questions.
That's a fair question, but I think we're missing the point.
That is the point.
Well, look.
Well,
on one end, serve and protect. On the other end, in today's world, we want to see police officers connecting with the people.
Okay.
So this is a way this particular officer is connecting with the community. And it's something alluding to Amber's point about telling your story. And I really didn't think about it until she mentioned it just now. Like you're using your niche to build TikTok. So he's a police officer. You're an administrator, an instructor here at a technology school. I'm a journalist. Amber, what do we do?
But see, I get fired if I'm dancing on the clock. I'm just saying.
I can't dance either. So hey,
just saying.
That's a whole other conversation, because I see all the time where I'll see TikTokers start to get a lot of attention, and then next thing you know, I see a post from them talking about how they were fired because they were making TikToks on the job. And mind you, I come from a branding background. I worked with my companies, with major companies, and teaching them how to engage and empower their workforce to be on social more, because your employees are your biggest ambassadors. And if you're chastising them for being on social when that is essentially free marketing for you, that's a mistake. So I think a lot of companies can get on board.
Oh, I like the way you said that. I like the way you said it.
Amber, so follow-up question for you, my friend. Where is ideally that fine line of using your personality, building your story, but not also sabotaging your paycheck?
Well, it's a longer conversation, but in a sense, first and foremost, you have to think that if you're connected or tied to your company in any way, for instance, if you're making TikToks or social media posts on the clock, then you're tying yourself to your business, period. If you have your shirt on or your uniform on, you're tying yourself to your business. If you have anything, any sort of logos, or you're tagging your company or anything that ties you to that company while you're creating social, then you have to think that all of those, that handbook that you got when you first were employed, that applies to you. It applies to how you're handling social. So you can't say, oh, well, it's my own personal social media account. It has nothing to do with the company. Well, it does. If, again, you're on company time, you're wearing the uniform, you're doing it, there's like a number of things that makes it to where you are. Then all of those things do apply to you. And having said that, then all of those rules in the handbook you need to take into consideration. So how are you representing the company? If they're a Christian company and you're not posting such Christian-like things, then obviously that's not in line with their values. So you have to keep that in mind. But if you're in line with all the values and you're representing them in a good way, then it's an amazing, amazing marketing tool for the employer.
Wow.
Laid it out in plain English.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So what would be another tip that you would say that we should more or less take into consideration if we're trying to build our following?
Yeah. So the second thing is strategy. And, it doesn't have to be as scary as it sounds. You don't have to build a full out monthly or weekly strategy or anything like that. But what I mean is be strategic with what you're doing. So you figured out what your story is or how you want to tell your story. The next thing is to use trends and leverage your resources strategically. Meaning if there's a new trend, there's a sound that's trending, or there's a dance that's trending, or there's something that applies to your story or the way that you want to tell your story, then hop on it. However, don't just hop on every single trend because it's trending and you feel like, oh, this is going to be the one that helps me get to, 100,000 followers. No, like not every trend is meant for you. Be strategic about it. And if you're strategic about it, it will pay off.
How to identify the best moment, the best story, the best all of the above, because you alluded to another great point. Don't jump on everything to where you're posting all the time. But how do you know when, like, ooh, that is right? Or how do you know? Because half the time when you post something, okay, there was something I posted. Part of my story is I'm from Detroit. I tried to be an ambassador for the city in the work that I do. So I was at the Selfie Museum in downtown Detroit, and there was this caption of all pretty girls come from Detroit. And I'm looking at it, and it's just like, hey, this is cool. So my photographer, he took a candid photo of me looking at the caption, all pretty girls come from Detroit. Okay. And that got like 6,000 likes.
Well,
who
would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it?
Right.
Yeah. So that
Amber, who would have thunk it?
So here's I'm going to finish up on this, and then it's going to lead me into my third point. So with that, like, how do you know what trends to hop on, or how do you know what makes sense when it comes naturally? Period. Like if you have to force it, if you're just like, oh, I haven't posted anything all day, or I haven't posted anything in 2 days and I need to post, oh, there's this trending song or there's this new trend, let me hop on that. If you have to force it, if you have to really put too much time or effort or thought into it, then that ain't it. That is not it. It should be something, it's because essentially when you're storytelling and you're creating, it's an artistic form of expression. Art comes with inspiration. You have to be inspired. You have to have that spark. If you're inspired and you have that spark, that's the trend for you. And even if it doesn't get a lot of reach or a lot of engagement, doesn't mean, oh, that wasn't it. It just wasn't it yet. But as long as it comes authentically, hop on it.
Oh, wow.
The algorithm knows true art.
Right.
So, and that leads me into my next point, which is consistency. So something you said, Josh, about, like don't be posting all the time. With TikTok, you really do need to post frequently. It's not like, oh, let me post once a day or once a week. I mean, 3-4 times a day is pretty average for the bigger influencers and the people who are growing their accounts. You want to be posting 3 to 4 times a day. Again, not forced. So when you do feel that spark of inspiration and you can create and knock out, 4, 5, 6 videos, save a couple in the drafts. Just in for those days that you're not feeling it or you don't have anything, you're just not inspired, then post your drafts. But constantly putting something out there is going to help with TikTok. I can't say the same for Instagram or Facebook because that's another beast, but TikTok, you do want to post consistently several times a day, every single day.
Wow. So here's a question, right? Do you have to be a content creator to be posting all of this content? You know, you speak of these strategies, right? Storytelling. I don't even know what my strategy would be because I've never posted anything to TikTok. I know, boo, that's me. But at the end of the day, do I have to be some form of content creator to be able to keep up with these three particulars that you've given us?
Well, first and foremost, if you have ever put anything, which you haven't, but if for those who have put a single piece, something on TikTok, you're a content creator. You created content and you put it out there. You're a content creator. Like every person who's using, TikTok or Reels or anything like that, and they're creating something and posting, you're a content creator. Now, whether you're trying to do it for a specific purpose or not, that's where we get back to this strategizing and the storytelling. Why are you creating content? If you have no direction, no vision, no goal, then you're simply posting to post, and you're probably not going to see much return on your investment of time. But if you understand your story and if you're strategic about it, then you're going to start to see the ROI. So you don't have to be an influencer or have any special accolades to, to use a strategy to storytell, to be strategic, or to be consistent with posting. You can post 3 or 4 times a day. And so what if 100,000 people aren't seeing every single post yet? But they will, because here's the thing. If you have a video that, oh my goodness, all of a sudden it blows up, you've got 2 million views, a majority of those people who watch that video are going to go to your profile and look at your other videos. So eventually, and then you never know which one of those videos are going to blow up because finally the right person saw it and shared it. And now it's getting that traction that you wanted from it initially. I can't tell you how many of my old videos I'll get engagement on. I'm like, oh my God, I posted like 4 months ago, but there's so many new people coming to my profile that they're literally going through and watching every single one of my videos. Like I had somebody comment today, like they spent 2 hours on my account watching every single video I've ever posted and sharing them. So yeah, you never know when it's going to get that traction.
Hold on. I did not say that. I know good. I didn't say that.
I know good and darn well. I did not say that.
Are you saying that was me?
I didn't say it was you. I said somebody else told me that.
I was about to say I thought TikTok was telling on me.
You kind of just said it was you though.
Because I can't lie. I watch so much of your content, and I don't. So I'm the person that I think that this TikTok is becoming a thing with me. So I haven't ever posted, but I like watching a lot of the content that has been posted. In your account specifically, I was raised by my grandmother. True story, right? I was raised from 3 to 15 by my grandmother. And the story of you raising your granddaughter and the content and the way that you have presented it, I find myself connected with it and engaged with it. And I probably was the person that went through and saw all 1,500 of your videos. I'm just saying, it probably was me. Right.
No, but it's not just you, but you said something very valuable. You connected with it. And that's the thing. So here's the thing. When I was trying to figure out what my niche was, I had to realize it wasn't about a niche. It was about my story. My story is what I bring to the table. My story is what connects me with others. And it's something that, and this is for all business owners and everyone who wants to create, you have to tap into some vulnerability, right? Because these are things that I've been ashamed of or embarrassed about, but I'm now just like, it's all out there. It's all in the open. But that is the very thing that people, feel inspired by and feel connected to me. And that's why my account is growing at the speed that it's growing, because people feel that they can relate. And that's the value that
I'm telling you, I think that it is the being authentic, and if there was ever to be a class taught on how to grow these accounts, you have to be the person to be able to show me how to connect with that part of me. I don't know what people want to hear about, right? I don't know if people want to see the business side or if people want to see the father side or the people want to see whatever. So I'm still on a search to, be able to express that, whatever that part of me is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's probably why your account has millions of views and mine is still trying to figure it out.
You just got to figure it out. But once you figure it out,
All right. Amber, where can everybody reach you if they want to do like Carlos and kind of follow you on TikTok?
Kind of follow me on TikTok. So my username or my handle on all social is Get Real with AB.
Get Real with the AB, everybody. Amber, once again, we'd like to thank you for blessing us today. I'm sure that these tips are going to help all of us kind of build our accounts, specifically Josh, because he's on TikTok, and me as I begin to play around with them. And definitively, I want you to continue to create the content that you do. You know, it's so valuable, it's so needed, and I love the story myself personally. All right. So thank you again, and we'd love to have you come back next week and give us some more news in tech. All right.
Really exciting stuff for y'all next week. So let's do it.
All right. See you next week.
Bye.
You got it.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. So I guess I kind of bust on myself, right?
Yeah.
I kind of bust.
Get Real with AB.
Get Real with AB. And if you guys have never watched any of her content, you should check it out. Again, she's a grandmother, a grandmother who was a mother, I think, at 14 and 17 or 19 or something. And so now she's raising the granddaughter that is the daughter. And it's you can sense it. It's kind of like us talking about the House of Dragons earlier.
Yes.
You know, I'm watching this stuff like it's real live, you know, television that's being brought to me every day that she posts. I love it. I absolutely love it. So, all right.
Good stuff. I'm just looking at her TikTok right now as you're speaking, and
yeah, right.
What you're alluding to, you see it.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
see it.
So we want to talk about again, we want to get into some of the news segments this week. And hold on now. We want to talk about these news segments. Josh, I don't know what's going on over here with your camera, but it's okay. I got you. I got you.
All right.
So in the news, one of the things that, you know, everybody is kind of paying attention to right now is the fact that your girl will be
yes
performing at the Super Bowl. Now, what do you think about this?
It's Rihanna. I'm for it.
You're for it?
I'm for it.
Just because it's Rihanna?
Yeah. I mean, what are you talking about here?
Yeah, I guess that's good enough, right?
Yeah, that's good enough. I would like her to give Drake a call, have him drop in on it.
Okay.
You know, have some cameos.
Okay.
I would like that. You know what would be sweet? I'm gonna throw this out there. I'm gonna go there a little bit.
You go there.
It would be dope as hell for her to have Drake and Chris Brown on the stage at the same time with her at the halftime.
No, the hell
show.
he didn't just say that.
I kind of just went there.
Did y'all see that?
I kind of just went there a little bit because it would just it would show elevation. It would show growth. I mean, look, Drake and Chris Brown, they did Guidance together. That hashed up everything they went through. But it would bring everything full circle on one of the biggest stages in a way that entertains everyone.
I can't see it.
That would be dope.
I can't see it.
I think it could happen.
I can't see it.
I think it could
because
happen.
I would fall into the hashtag me too. Hashtag me too.
Why?
Do we soon forget the tumultuous relationship between Rihanna and Chris Brown? I'm just saying. I'm just asking.
We do also keep in mind
we
have not forgotten that. Also keep in mind that they did get back together after that went down.
Yeah, but I'm not too soon to forget. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying forget.
Right.
No one said ever forget. But it would be. I'm just saying it would be a way to bring some kind of resolution.
Okay.
To the whole saga.
Fiasco. I hear
to
you.
The whole fiasco.
The
whole situation. To the entire situation. Bring some kind of resolution.
Listen, to me.
In a way that could entertain everyone.
To me, it's neither here nor there because this is my wholehearted belief. It's not like I'm going to tune in to the Super Bowl halftime show this year like I did last year. I don't think that there's ever going to be another show in my generation.
Oh, the one that just passed?
That was better than
I mean, okay, we're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
we're talking about Dr. Dre. We're
Dre.
talking about Snoop Dogg.
Snoop.
We're talking about Mary J. Blige.
Mary J.
We're talking about Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick
We're talking
Lamar.
about Eminem. We're talking about 50 Cent.
50 Cent. I'm just saying. I don't think
I
that
mean,
this show is who are they gonna bring? Kanye, Jay-Z, Drake, who else? Chris Brown. I mean, I'm not necessarily tuning in like I was sitting there with my bowl of popcorn halftime show this past year.
yes.
So
Fair enough.
yeah. I just want to put that out there.
At the same
Regardless,
time, they can attempt to bring that same kind of vibe, that
they
same kind of
bring
feel.
Bring it. But this is kind of like a versus. You know what I'm saying? This is
I
like
would
a
also
versus.
like to see a little crossover within her halftime show as well.
What, like some Taylor Swift?
Yes,
You want to see some Taylor Swift? Come
because
on with
she
her?
was
Originally,
offered, but I
she
think it was a
slated.
conflict of
Yeah.
with her scheduling.
Yeah.
So it would be good to see like a Taylor Swift pop up, something like even though they were already headlining together with J-Lo and Shakira.
Okay.
How that crossover came to get together quite well.
Yeah.
So a little blending there too.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, if you're not on board with Chris Brown and Drake on the stage, at the very least, give Drake a call.
Give him a call. Yeah.
I mean, he's only the hottest thing in hip hop right now.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I kind of know about
I
that.
don't know about that.
Brother, catalog.
I'm just saying.
Catalog.
I'm just saying. We still are out on his last album, Drake. If you ever hear this, I'm just saying.
Man, that new album.
Don't you dare.
I will dare. That's for New York vibe.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
By the way, I don't live in New York. I'm in Detroit.
But I'm saying he made that for a certain vibe, and
yeah,
either you get it or you don't.
Yeah, I'm not too getting it, and I love Drake. I don't get this last presentation.
It's a
I don't
house.
get it.
Wait, for someone who's into house music.
Wait a minute now. Who said I was into house music? Who said that? I want to know. Who were they? Who said that?
There have been plenty of times we came in here before we got the show going. You had some.
It wasn't house. EDM. Big difference.
Okay. All right.
Big difference, my friend.
All right.
How dare you?
Okay.
For all my EDM listeners out there, how dare he? Oh, I'm just saying.
Okay. Fair
Moving
enough.
right along to the next topic.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we hear that in Michigan. Let's do some local news.
Okay.
Right?
Local news. What's going on?
Well, in Michigan, there is about to be a bill that's presented in regards to cell phones use on school buses and in classrooms.
U of M, right?
No, in the entire state. This is not going to be a U of M thing or a U of D. It's going to be an entire state. And with that topic comes a great discussion that we are having around DSDT. Ooh. And I happened to learn today that one of the staff members was once upon a time a high school teacher. So I want to bring her in to have this little quick conversation. So why don't we welcome Miss Ebony Washington. Welcome, Ebony. How are you today?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
All right.
Good.
All right. Enough with all that schmoozing and stuff. Okay,
hey,
Ebony.
Hello.
Ebony, can you please explain to us why you believe that this is a good idea, that the legislature should be considering banning these mobile devices on buses and in the schoolroom?
Absolutely. So as a former educator, secondary 6th through 12th grade, call that our special group, I have had numerous experiences where cell phones, especially in the classroom, do more harm than good. Case in point, I think it takes away from the curriculum that needs to be taught in the classroom because we are putting out little fires that doesn't have anything to do with the education. Case in point, you may have a student in class, we're going through the lesson. The majority of the students are on social media, so we'll have a cell phone. Someone unassumingly takes a picture of someone and posts it to their social media with a sneak diss caption. So from us going from our lesson, now the person who is being talked about now is in the classroom with a sour attitude, rightfully so. So now, whispers around the classroom is talking about what was posted on social media. So now the focus has gone from the lesson until what was posted on social media. That's just one example. Second example is even if it doesn't have to do with someone posting something on social media, in between classes, you know, the teacher is supposed to be there at the door greeting the students. We had students losing their iPods, having a mental, you know, a meltdown. My parents just bought that. I can't find it. Crying. So now you have to take some time to help the person find their AirPods. So it's just basically putting out fires that we wouldn't have to address or deal with if cell phones weren't allowed in the classroom.
Ebony, as far as you are aware, what kind of support are we seeing with this bill? Is it bipartisan? How far along are we with it? Will it be on the November ballot? Where do things stand at the moment? It sounds like it's a very new bill, so we won't be talking about it as far as whether
for another year.
For another year at least. Okay,
for
so
another
where do
year.
things fully stand with it?
So
That I'm not sure about. I know as far as enacting something school-wide, even before it gets to the government, has been hard. There were rules in place that you're supposed to turn in your cell phone at the beginning of class and get it at the end of class. But again, students feel that their rights are being infringed on with that. So I'm just curious to see how, if a law does get passed, how it will be enacted.
Okay, so at least a year or so out. A little bit of a tough question, and it's on a very sensitive topic. Has there been any opposition to, in today's world, where you have incidents at schools, mass shootings, things of that nature, where a child having a cell phone can play a role in notifying law enforcement? Just that communication, has that conversation taken place as well to get that perspective, and where has it ended up?
It hasn't. Unfortunately, I haven't been in an emergency situation. I know that people are advocating for it because, you know, students that have their access to their phones to call emergency or what have you. But, you know, they have administrators in the building who are responsible for reporting emergency. So I don't understand, like, why is that the argument? It's like, you know, like, I guess, what's the difference between one emergency phone call and 100 emergency phone calls?
wait a minute now, hold on, because I'm about to voice my opinion. Now, first of all, Miss Washington, I don't ever hear her say too much of anything. She's pretty much a to herself quiet type of person. But when we began to speak on this topic this morning, I saw her eyes just and it was like a whole different person. Hold on, don't touch that conversation because I know about that, right? I never knew that she was even a high school educator. I never knew it. So I find all these things out this morning. Let me just give my 2 cents, right?
Okay.
Since this is the Tech School podcast with Josh and Carlos. And so my belief is that they ought not to ban students being able to have the devices in class. Now, I get it. You can have a rule. All schools should have a rule about them bringing the devices out, right? You can't use the device during class session while taking a test or whatever the case. I get that. But I feel like this is another opportunity for the government to overstep their boundaries, right? The government should not be making a law that affects my kid in a way. Now, she just made the point that, you know, you have, what's the difference between one call from an administrator or 100 calls, right? When my administrator is down in an office somewhere and this little guy in the back of the classroom just reached into his backpack to grab whatever it was that he brought in, how is the administrator going to know before I do? And if I don't have my mobile device to be able to connect with whoever I need to in that time, I think from a security standpoint, that's a great argument. I mean, I think, you know, I'm not the smartest person in the world. I'm just saying it's just little old Carlos with his opinion, and my opinion carry weight sometimes. I'm just talking about from this standpoint. I don't believe, just from the sense of the government coming in with another lame rule. I mean, we really got serious things going on. Like, for instance, I went to buy some chicken wings the other day. The chicken wings, 3 of them was $8.57. You want to work on something? Work on getting my chicken wings to a lower price. You did good with gas for a while, so I applaud everybody. But now work on chicken wings and leave my kid's cell phone in the room alone. I'm just saying.
Ebony, how did this conversation generate? Like, what really got this even on the books?
Well, I think Carlos was telling us about Michigan trying to enact the law. And like I say, I had a lot of experience with cell phones, children and cell phones. It'll get so
what
bad.
level of education? What, elementary, middle school, high school?
So 6th through 12th grade.
Okay.
So I taught high school first, middle school. So so that 11 to 18-year-olds.
Okay.
Wow. I couldn't even imagine.
Where did you see the biggest difficulty in the classroom setting? Was it amongst middle school kids or high school kids?
They're about the same. How do I say? It's the same. It's just, how do I say? High schoolers may deal with it differently. Middle schoolers are more emotional. High schoolers are more want to take action, if that makes sense. So it's kind of
that's why they need their phones. I'm just saying. That's why they need them. They need them. Hey, but you know what? Yeah, I sit here and I listen to you, not to make joke of it or make lightly. I applaud you. I really do. You are one of those unsung heroes that so many times that we forget about. I could never be a high school instructor.
Oh, that's a tough job.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't even want to be on the faculty, right? So I'm not going to even stress my disdain for wanting to do something. I enjoy where we are in the ecosystem of education. Probably the youngest individual that we've had to date that come through the DSDT program is standing right over here, Mr. Anthony. I was talking to him earlier today. He's 17 years old. 17 years old. So people often ask me, how old can you be coming to DSDT? 17. Well, now that I say that, I stop. Because I guess you could be 16 if you have a high school diploma. High school diploma or GED is the prerequisite, if you will, to enroll into DSDT. So I couldn't imagine. He's 17 having to deal with them all day long. No, that's not my game plan. So Ebony, thank you definitively for all the work that you put in with, what high school was it? Chandler Park. What is the mascot over there?
Oh, Detroit's East Side. Okay.
Eagles.
Yeah.
The who?
Eagles.
The Eagles, Chandler Park Eagles. We want to thank you for lending Ebony to us for the duration. We appreciate you guys. And definitively, we want to thank you for coming on and giving us a little bit of your opinion as to why you think that this bill ought to be a law. Not that it will be, and I'm hoping that we actually get out and vote for it not to be, but definitely we thank you for your opinion, ma'am.
All right, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
All right.
Interesting discussion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm just wholeheartedly. I just think that the government is more and more beginning to overstep their boundaries.
You can understand the reasoning for being in the classroom, concentrated on the curriculum. At the same time, it's just in today's world, it's just a tough one to fully support.
We're so past that. This would be different. If it was 1999.
Yes.
Cell phones were just showing up on the scene, and we say, okay, we don't want them in the classroom because it's going to do X, Y, and Z. But they've had cell phones now for all this time in the classroom, and I get it. It can be, ground zero for distractions.
Yes.
I get that. But it also has proven time and time again that they can be of more positive use than they ever are detrimental.
And you can't ignore the unfortunate fact that we live in a world of mass school shootings.
School is number one. Why would you want to ban something like this?
You just can't get around it.
Right. Listen, so for those of you guys that follow our podcast at all, at some point you leave these comments in the section below. I would like to hear your opinion as to what do you think about this, this new bill that this one legislative is trying to pass. Are you for it or are you against it?
Mm.
I want to know. Chime in below, and definitely we'll respond at some point to whatever comments you make. All right.
All right.
All right. Moving right along. So also this week, we want to bring on another special guest. So this is Mr. John Hockey.
Okay.
Everybody give a round of applause to Mr. John Hockey. All right. So Mr. John Hockey, Lisa actually sent Lisa, our good friend Lisa,
yes.
right? She actually sent him as a potential guest, and she wanted us to have a conversation with him because this young man has worked a long time with IBM, and he's been in the commercial real estate space for a great while. So we want to bring on Mr. John Hockey in order to have a discussion about the expansion of DSDT. All right. So Mr. Hockey.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, John.
Josh, Carlos, thank you for the time this afternoon.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, give us a little background on who you are and what do you do with IBM?
He used to work with IBM, and he now is a commercial developer in, is it Port St. Lucie?
I live and work in Stuart, Florida.
Okay.
But I do work all over the state, and I'm also licensed as a broker and general contractor in California.
Oh, okay.
It's interesting. I grew up in Eugene, Oregon. So I tell people I've worked in every state in the union, but Maine and Louisiana. So I've done a lot of traveling in my career.
Okay.
But I did grow up in Eugene, Oregon. I attended Purdue University. So while attending Purdue, I know that Michigan was not a place I wanted to spend the rest of my career because it's a little bit too cold for me. But upon graduating from Purdue, became a project manager in the real estate and construction division of IBM. Worked for them for many years. And then I actually went to work for a large international construction company that I hired to do a $48 million lab for me in San Jose. That's Hensel Phelps Construction. So I'm involved in commercial real estate. I also own one of the largest commercial construction companies here in Martin County.
With that being said, John, it's our understanding that DSDT is looking to open a location in Stuart, Florida. Correct, Carlos?
Correct.
Okay, tell us why is Stuart, Florida a good spot for DSD to expand there?
Well, I'll give you a more global picture. Stuart falls in what we call the Treasure Coast. And the Treasure Coast's most northerly boundary would be Cape Canaveral. So there's a lot of technology that comes from the aerospace industry, and it works its way down. So you start with Indian River County, then you have St. Lucie County, then you have Martin County, where I live, and I work in all three counties and do work as far as Tampa. I have a construction project in Tampa right now that I'm working on. And although you're calling from Detroit, you might not know this, but if I was to look out my window, we're having a Category 3 hurricane that is approaching, and they just closed our schools for the rest of this week. So we're on a hurricane watch down here.
Hurricane Ian.
Right. But more specifically, as it relates to your organization, there's a lot of different types of technologies on the Treasure Coast. We just are opening an Amazon distribution center in St. Lucie County. IRSC, which stands for Indian River State College, has a lot of both vocational programs as well as four-year college degrees. So the Treasure Coast is actually a very highly educated workforce. And there's a lot of technologies that are coming here and moving from California. To give you an example, my last three commercial buildings that I sold in Martin County were to companies from California. So with the different economic things that are going on with the virus and the pandemic, that sort of thing, there's a lot of industries that are moving here from states like California, Texas, Arizona. So by having a location here, you're coming into a demographic that is really growing, both from a technology standpoint as well as just sheer population.
Oh, and I love that. I love that. So John was telling me earlier that he actually used to work for IBM as a vocational trainer.
Well, that was one of the components. I was a project manager, but because I was involved in Toastmasters, I was a Dale Carnegie instructor. I was drawn into the technology and educational organization of IBM. There's actually a technology center in Thornwood, New York, that is specific to training IBM employees. And I was involved in that because of my background with Toastmasters and Dale Carnegie, and had done some vocational training for scheduling. I think I shared with you some electronical engineering. What we found is some of the facilities departments, even though they were trained electrical engineers, they weren't as knowledgeable as just the very simple things that was done with the electrical work in their work in facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So I was involved in that and had done some training modules for IBM.
Okay. How do you feel that, because I was expressing to John earlier that we have this construction technology course that we never quite got off the ground, just simply because of some issues here in the city of Detroit. And having the knowledge base that you do, how do you feel that the construction industry has changed over the years since you were doing it in relations to these various forms of technology? Like, one of our big things, we were the first institution in the state of Michigan that had a license to be able to train in drone technology, which was one of the reasons why we even wanted to pair that with construction technology. The whole HoloLens and 3D animations that we are also providing here at DSDT, I see that that's an intricate part now of construction as well. No longer are the days of when you just simply draw things on, your blueprints out hand by hand or whatever the case may be. How do you think that the technology nowadays is formidable from a DSDT standpoint, and it could be utilized even there in a Stuart location, John?
Well, years ago, we used to refer to the industry as a whole as an AEC industry, which would be architectural engineering and construction. Now, my background, actually, I was one of the founding members of the Design Build Institute of America. And so a lot of the projects that I did were design build. I spoke to you earlier, the Oakland City Hall that I did, it was a $128 million design build project. Now, I use design build as an example to segue from the more conventional design bid process that came out of the public works sector. But if you look at AEC, architectural engineering and construction, and to break it down into pieces, a lot of the things that you are talking about are more on the design side, like 3D imagery, that sort of thing, are things that are done on the design side. When we work and talk specifically about construction, the two most, having done $1 billion of construction, I tell you the two most important variables of construction are cost and budget. Cost and budget. So when I talk about technology as it relates to the most specific things, cost and budget, there's still a lot of technology that would be involved in that. Through Excel spreadsheets is a simple example, but some of the cost platforms out there for cost accounting, production analysis, that sort of stuff, there's a bunch of things that we could do in the areas of technology related to cost. And similarly, there would be a lot of things that we could do to talk about scheduling.
And
scheduling, PERT scheduling, that sort of thing.
It's amazing that you would even say that, because I remember I was having a conversation with someone in relations to new programs that we wanted to start. And this is before we got into the business information technology, or even the digital marketing program. And the one program, hands down, he said that we should implement was Excel and Microsoft Word. And I thought, what? What?
I was going to say Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is just a simple bar chart program, but it's very powerful when you just look at sheerly the head tail sequencing of the activities. Just a simple
describe
bar
paint the picture for Microsoft Project, like just what that is. What do you do? What do you see? Like, I know Excel, like Excel spreadsheets and things of that nature, but Project, get it into.
Well, I'll give you an example. Okay, like
Yes.
Primavera Primavera would be a high-powered scheduling program. So like in the case of a $128 million design build project, I might have a CPM schedule that has 4,000 activities. And that does a lot of technical analysis. The computers, crunches a lot of numbers under a huge scheduling system for a large project. But here's the problem with that. When you get down to the field level, the superintendents don't understand that. So in a lot of cases, we'll take a $4,000 Primavera program and we'll spit it out into weekly or bi-weekly outlooks for the superintendents using Microsoft Project. Just turn huge complex schedules, which might be 4 years long, distill those down using Microsoft Project to turn it into a bar chart. So that's a large project. A smaller project, one of the last projects I did in California before moving to Florida was a remodel of the Holiday Inn Golden Gateway on Van Ness Street in San Francisco. That was a head to tail strip out and redo. And that was done on a Microsoft Project bar chart. And that's what we call a cycle time. We had a 27-day cycle time per floor. So what that means is I would just use head to tail activities and just do a loop. I would take a series of 20 activities and do that loop from the top of the hotel to the bottom, going through the 27 floors. And it was easy enough that a superintendent could understand it. So Microsoft Project, although from a technical standpoint is very, very simple, is very, very powerful for the right types of projects. And it's something that people can use and put on their resume and sell on the open market as a skill that they could use to get a job.
Therefore, with a construction technology course, is Microsoft Project something you should know beforehand entering that course, or something you will learn during that course?
No, I think it'd be something that you learn during the course. I think that would be the reason to take the course. I think that a lot of people, look at the various components of construction and sometimes are scared away, to tell you the truth. But I think to have something specific to scheduling and using Microsoft Project as a tool that they can put in their tool bag would really be a good service that we'd be offering the AEC community.
Wow. Why don't we just give John one of those? You can. Right, he just dropped one of those bombs on us that it was like right under the radar and nobody really caught a hold of that. Because I'm sitting here explaining to you guys that I literally was told by another owner of an organization in regards to what we should train next. And this is before we got into the bits and the digital marketing, and it was Excel and Microsoft Word. Now John comes along and he says, well, if you guys are thinking along the construction technology trades, then you should be thinking more along the lines of Microsoft Project Management. Guess what? I never heard of it.
That's why I've asked the kind of questions I had, because Microsoft Project.
Where is that when I'm looking in my Microsoft?
Where is it?
My programs, right?
PowerPoint, Excel,
OneDrive,
Word.
Right. I've never seen project management.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen project in there. And guess what we're going to be looking for now, guys?
Yeah, it's very applicable to the the working world in construction, especially at a smaller scale. The larger projects have these huge programs because we have so many dollars involved. And like on the Oakland City Hall, I'll have materials on order for 3 years before I get them. So I need to know that I've got the the exterior doors coming 3 years from now, but my superintendent doesn't need to know that. He needs to know how to pour the footings the next day.
I kind of want to play Captain Obvious just a tad bit with the term construction technology, where yes, it's 2022. Technology is involved in everything, but it's also a sign of the times where construction technology versus just construction, just how much construction has evolved to where it's becoming even more mental than just getting a backhoe and building something.
But you got to think, Josh. I mean, we actually played around with the construction technology aspect because we had a presentation that was done in 3D animation or virtual reality, right? You put on these hollow lenses, you're able to walk inside of the actual architect of the design before one rock is carried out by one dump truck or whatever the case may be. Here you are standing in this structure that's been designed by the architect, and it's like, wow, how can we train more people to do this faster and quicker, right? And at the same time, the older architects may not know necessarily how to use these virtual reality devices. And are we able to train the next generation to be able to assist with that? And that was more of the standpoint that we were looking at, right? Having drone simulators to be able to go out to these locations and do the 3D designs, and being able to graph them all as Cody does in the 3D animation class. I mean, there was just certain aspects that we thought would work well within the construction field. But unfortunately, around the city of Detroit, it hasn't caught on like that. Not as fast as we would have liked it to.
Yes.
But again, sometimes the technology may be there, and it may take a while still for it to catch a blaze like we would hope that it would. But I mean, at any time, we already have the program approved and we're ready to teach in it should anyone actually see the need or the desire for it.
So it's ready right here, right now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Have the teachers. We have the programs ready to go. It's just a matter of companies actually wanting that sort of training.
Right. Here in Metro Detroit.
The point that I was trying to make, Carlos, earlier when I talked to you on the phone is the idea that it'd be more of the AE, the architecture engineering community, that would use like 3D modeling, that sort of thing. So if I was to target a market, it would be draftsmen. It would be people that come up the ranks doing CAD. It would be if someone was after a CAD job, to have that on their resume, saying that they have some experience in 3D modeling. An employer would look at that and say, hey, that's someone that we want, because they have at least some knowledge of that. And although it would not necessarily be their day-to-day, job, so to speak, it would be something that they could move them into, or something that a company could evolve into. Because you're right, a lot of architecture firms, have gone from pen and paper to CAD and now 3D modeling. And so, for the old timers, it is hard to catch up, but that is what's happening in the industry. And as I said in a Toastmaster speech that I said recently, change is going to happen whether you're along for the ride or not. Change is going to happen.
That's right. I agree 100%. Well, John, I'd like to thank you for taking our time today to spend a moment or two with us here on the podcast. Definitely all your endeavors are to be appreciated. I look forward to meeting you in person. Go ahead, Josh.
Where do things stand as far as starting up your location in Stuart, Florida?
We're moving forward.
Okay.
We're moving forward.
Timeline end of this year, next year?
It's going to be next year. I can definitively tell you that, because Florida has this thing called these Commission on Education, in which you have to be approved to actually, train within the state. So we have a location that we're looking at. And at the same time, before we're signing off on a lease, we want to definitively make sure that we actually can teach in the state.
Right.
Get
your certification, if you will.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother topic within another situation. But I'm looking forward to having more conversations with John, just simply because he doesn't necessarily just work in Florida, right? He's all around the country. We're actually looking at other locations, which I think he might be great to help with as well.
Right on.
So definitively. All right. John, again, thank you, sir. And we look forward to having another conversation with you.
We look forward to it.
Have a good day.
All right, man. Wow. I need to take a break.
A lot to take in.
I need to take a break.
It'll be good for our viewers to go back and watch it over again to pick out what they need from this episode. You got quite the intake.
Absolutely, we do. I think that just from the standpoint of DSDT, we have so much going on now. We're trying to branch out. Not trying. We are going to branch out to do another location. We are growing here immensely under the DSDT roof. In the last couple of days, I just had to bring on 2 other staff members to help with the scheduling, to help with class rosters, to help with career services. I mean, we just have a lot going on. And, we've talked about this for a while, where, the pandemic kind of hampered our operations here in person, to the point to where it does me well to see, students now in the building actually being able to get some hands-on with some of the training that they're looking for. And at the same time, we have students that are online around the world. I mean, this last month was probably the best month as far as enrollments that we've had in quite some time, which we're getting there. And so the hope is, as we're beginning to look at these other locations, is that the DSDT brand continues to grow and we continue to do exactly what it is that we signed up. Again, I'm not a traditional educator. I'm not. Right. And I don't have a problem with telling anybody that. And I also believe that there's a lot of Carloses out here that are not traditional. And we're just looking for our place in the world. We have real life responsibilities. We have real life hopes and dreams that we're trying to ascertain. And, there was a time when I was looking through a window and I didn't see a Carlos, right? Because everybody that I saw were the complete opposite of me. Well, I don't want to be that person. I want the next generation to be able to look at me and some of the accomplishments that I've made and say, you know what, if he can do it, I know I can do it.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Carlos. DSDT kind of falls under the unorthodox, but effective.
It does. And you know what? I'm glad you say that too, because I feel like every day they're trying to make us more traditional. And when I say they, I mean the powers that be around DSDT. I'm often told that I can't do that and you have to do this. And I just feel like we're becoming more akin to some of the traditional institutions for various reasons. But I would love if we could stay or remain as we were these past, I don't know,
still hold on to that edge to a certain degree.
Hold on to what we're true to.
Yeah.
It was about, educating our community. It was about connecting local, truly, I'll just say what it is, no matter where you are and no matter what DSDT student you are, it was about connecting local Detroiters with opportunities they would not otherwise have. Because I was having those conversations, Jamie was having those conversations in the beginning, and our community were a part of that conversation.
Digital divide.
Great digital divide. When you had companies that were coming in, and we're talking about multi-billion-dollar operations, and they weren't hiring local Detroiters because they didn't feel that they had the skill sets. And rather than actually invest in training them, they were investing dollars, and everyone in the suburbs were actually getting the opportunities to come in and train. So we flipped that, and we actually for a great while were just training only Detroiters. At one point, 100% of the students that we turned out of this education here were Detroiters. And call us unorthodox, call us not the traditional, but at the end of the day, it was never about the faculty, the Carlos, the Jamie of DSDT. It was about our community, the local community. And that is the portion of the story I don't never want it to be lost, and I don't never want us to get away from. All right?
Right on.
All right. So that's going to wrap us up for this week.
Yes.
In the Tech School Podcast. Josh?
Oh, as always, Carlos, it is always a pleasure. We'll see you next week. See you next week. In the meantime, that will do it for the Tech School Podcast powered by DSDT. See ya.